when you're the small company, it's like a speedboat. You can turn around and look behind you and see what the engine is doing. But when you get bigger, you're in a cruise ship, and the bridge needs to know what the engine room is doing. And if you don't have those metrics in place, you really don't know what's going on down there. And so you lose track.
And I'm sorry, Mike, I was going to say as a follow-up to that, it's, and it's a perfect analogy, because as you grow in size, when you do need to make decisions, you don't turn on a dime. And so when you're in that cruise ship, you've got to have that history to know where you've come from. But looking forward, you have to be able to make the changes that get you where you need to be. And it's not that easy. It takes time. You've got to adjust. You have to bring the organization along with you when you're in that position.
So John, a little more specificity around when to choose a provider. And so how does the founder or leadership team know, or what are indicators that it's time to bring in an outside financial expert?
Another great question, Mike, and not an easy one, because every organization is at a different stage in their life cycle. They all have different factors, driving where they're heading. But I'll say, a few of the key ones are, first and foremost, if you are in a high growth stage, knowing that, you don't have the time to spend, to invest, if I'm the founder, if I'm the leader of the organization, to really do the justice in developing what needs to be developed. Another great opportunity is when someone departs the organization, right? It's great to bring in a third party, even if only on a temporary basis, to give insights that you might not otherwise have gotten. And it can be a transitionary sort of period to bridging to a new leader, or it can be, a permanent relationship where you're always seeking input from that different perspective.
All right. And I would imagine in the business that Indonero's in, you have clients where they just need, the founder or the team doesn't really know what good looks like. So they just need some structure to get built, and then they can maybe transition to their own team. What does that interplay look like for a lot of your clients?
Yeah, it's all over the board. We have, clients that, as you laid out, are looking for, support, insight in a more, project sort of basis, right? They just need to have the foundation set, and then they want to step in and take it on, all the way to, we have organizations that don't want to do any of that, meaning they want to partner for this part of the business, this financial operations segment of the business, as part of their strategy going forward. I've got a couple of good examples, case studies where, we had one individual talk about, he's a serial entrepreneur. He talked about, he spent, 4 or 5 years going through 3 or 4 different accounting partners before he found us, where he now feels comfortable. And during those 3 to 4 years, he was not able to, continue to develop his additional businesses, because he had to spend more time than he wanted focusing on the day-to-day. Now we're to the point where he says, every new company he goes and launches, he's going to go out with this partnered or outsourced accounting approach.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine that it doesn't have to be all or nothing, that you can maybe start with a fully outsourced, and you can kind of phase in pieces that you want to staff internally and have a mix of both. And so talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We serve clients that have grown into organizations of size and structure. And, a lot of them will take on, some of the functions and roles where we may continue to do the bookkeeping, the accounting piece, but maybe they put in a controller. And we have clients that do just the opposite. They keep the simpler activities like the bookkeeping, the accounting, and they bring us in for doing controllership and or CFO, delivering CFO services, simply because they understand that the higher that role within the organization, or the higher the impact of the role, it becomes more complicated, especially if you're in a growth oriented business, if you are adding new products and services, or there are change elements that are driving continuous change within that organization.